Hello, everyone. If you could take a seat, we're going to get started in a moment. Good evening, everyone. Hello. Hi, tak for de dukom, tanse, tatawa, bonjour, namaste, shalom, assalamu alaikum, guten abend, bienvenido, asin. Welcome. On this wintry evening here at Grant and Shaftesbury and Winnipeg and online, wherever you are, welcome to the annual fundraising evening of the MHC Gallery. My name is Sue Sorensen, and I'm an English professor here at Canadian Mennonite University. I am also a grateful visitor on this land, which is not mine. Land that it was cared for back through recorded and unrecorded time by the first peoples of this place. Among them the Cree, the Anishinaabe, the Dene, the Ojibwe, the Dakota. And of course, this is the homeland of the Métis Nation. We are on Treaty 1 territory. And in Treaty 1, there is a promise of peace and goodwill between all parties. It is now clear that truly good peace and goodwill has been lacking on the part of settler peoples, and I, for one, acknowledge the need for sorrow and reparations. A few notes about this evening. Mostly we are glad to be together, to take in some art, to be grateful for one another's company. We'll have some music, a little talk, some photographs, a tribute to someone special. It will not be a long program. The primary purpose of an evening like this at the gallery is to gather enough financial support to do the gallery's work for the year. This gallery is self-sustaining. Although we have a home provided in the past by Mennonite Church Canada and now by Canadian Mennonite University, and although we've received this year a small grant from the Manitoba Arts Council to sustain us through the rough times instigated by pandemic closures, and for all of these things, the gallery is grateful. Although we have these things, the gallery has always found its own operating funds, and this year is no different. We strive to keep this an inclusive and hospitable artistic space, and we hope to keep it open for a long time. And so if you know people who could not be here tonight and might support our vision, please tell them about the gallery. Encourage them to have a look at the live stream of this event, which will continue to be available. And tell them to come and see the art when they are able. There is no substitute for being present in front of a work of art. And do know that we are grateful for your financial support. I will just say, for those of you who are wondering about mask use, we are going to keep our masks on this evening, but anyone who comes up to the podium is welcome to take their mask off while they are speaking, which makes speaking a little easier. And I just wanted to say that, that this week at Canadian Mennonite University, I, as a professor, was very happy to find out that we now have the privilege of taking our masks off while we're teaching, as long as we stay in a nice little yellow box that's been created for us at the front of the classroom. Because we are a fully vaccinated, masked campus, but it has been a real boon this week to, this past 2 weeks, to take off our masks while we're teaching. I want to say something about Ray Dirks, because to a certain extent, that's one of the reasons we're here tonight, one of the main reasons. Ray Dirks started this gallery in 1998, and I'm sure most of you know Ray. And he started it mostly through the strength of his personality and some goodwill from a few people in the Mennonite church. Ray was doing something unusual. I don't know if anyone here knows a little about Mennonites, but I can fill you in on a few common characteristics. Mennonites are pragmatic. They don't like to spend money on frivolity. They can be stubborn and principled, devoted to good works. But in the past, art was not exactly at the forefront of what Mennonite Christians were committed to. Yet the human need to make beauty to be expressive will always make itself felt. Historically, Mennonites mostly directed their artistic impulses toward the making of useful things that might accidentally or slyly become beautiful, or in singing to the glory of God. And what Ray Dirks was convinced of, and he spent decades convincing others, is that there are so many ways to make art for the glory of God, and to do that very necessary thing to express our humanness. Of course, it's not only the Mennonite tradition and the Protestant tradition more broadly that has sometimes been less than keen about the arts. In other faiths, artists have not always been free to create and to build and invent as their hearts tell them to. Women have not always been free to tell their stories, and poverty has meant that many artists of vision had no way to communicate that vision. So this gallery has become one of the places where people of any faith, or with little faith left, could freely gather and explore. Explore the world of the spirit, the world of peace and friendship and difficult ideas while making art. It would be almost impossible to list all the different cultural groups and beliefs that have been welcomed in this space by Ray. It's a remarkable thing. Ray understood that art is about so many things. Art is sometimes about beauty, and you can see that in the works of Patricia Eschak upstairs. Art is sometimes about poignant longing and grieving, and you can see that in Karen Cornelius's work on the main floor of the gallery right now. Art can be about speaking difficult truths, as you will see when you return in a week for our next exhibition, Breaking the Silence on Domestic Violence. And yes, as Mennonites of past times insisted, sometimes art is plain and good and about the glory of God. And sometimes art is the pure delight of color and form. A few months ago, Ray Dirks retired as director of this gallery after 23 years. This gallery has been almost entirely the result of Ray's dedication. I'm a member of an advisory committee that is now holding things together during this long pandemic until we can find someone to take the helm. A few of us have felt a little fear that this gallery might not survive without Ray, but that would be a blow to Ray and to all the artists he has encouraged. His talent for connecting with people, his loving attention for so many friends, that can't be replicated, but it would be discourteous to forsake the mission of this place, and so we will keep going. And Ray is still around anyway to advise us and to keep making his own wonderful art. And for all the artists that have been encouraged by the inclusivity of this gallery, we owe it to them to continue. I don't underestimate the difficulty of keeping an art gallery going in these times, but art never has been a safe or an easy enterprise for anyone ever. But the artistic impulse will take hold, and we are here as witnesses to the beauty of that impulse. So on to our program tonight. I will introduce a few things, but some of it will proceed without announcement. First, there will be an opening prayer by a good friend of Ray's, the artist Issam Aboud. And immediately after that, without introduction, we will have some music by the guitarist and singer Daryl Neustetter-Barg, who teaches here at CMU and is a person who does recording and filming all around town. He also plays guitar in a little rock and roll band that I'm in, but we don't perform very often. We were to have, as our musical guest tonight, Ray Dirks' daughter, Alexa Dirks, but Daryl will do his best to be sort of like Alexa, although no one is like Alexa, but Alexa is ill and wasn't able to be here tonight. As soon as Daryl is done with his music, we will go into a series of videos of greetings from artists who wanted to say hello to Ray in particular, who brought their greetings. And then right after that video, we will have drummers from the Yoruba community here in Manitoba, Ejime Omo Yoruba musicians, bringing us their music and their greetings from the Yoruba community. And then I will make another announcement after that, but I'm hoping that those things will proceed. So I am hoping that Issam Aboud is here to do a prayer of welcome.
Good evening. Just a small version from the Quran. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alayhim ghayril maghdubi 'alayhim waladdallin. Amin. I pray to God to bless all of us and to bless Canada and bless everybody and all the family. Thank you.
Well, it's an honor to be with you this evening at this fine event. I have enjoyed this space for many years. I've worked on this campus for 20 years, and I've often found quiet solace in this space and inspiration as well. I am just as disappointed, maybe more disappointed than you, that Alexa is not singing this evening. I did get an email late last night. Hey, you're live streaming anyways. Do you think you want to? Okay, so. I don't do a lot of solo singing. I sing often with a musical partner named Kim Thiessen, and we've done a lot of singing for MCC, actually. But she was not available this evening, so it's as good as it's going to get for you, I'm afraid. I'd like to share a song that's just been one of my favorites for decades, right? Steve Bell, we all know, most of us know from his first album, his beautiful setting of Psalm 23.
Is my shepherd. He leaves me with nothing to want, and he leads me on with his staff and his rod. He is here to comfort my fears, even though breath in the shadows of death, but I'm still here, safe on the other side, here with the waters beside, cool in the grasses I lie, here with my Lord, comforts my soul, the shepherd of life. There's a table laid out before me, a cup with joy overflow. Surely goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life. Here with the waters beside, cool in the grasses I lie, here with my Lord, who comforts my soul and leads me back, here with the waters beside, cool in the grasses I lie, here with my Lord. Here with my Lord, who comforts my soul. He is the shepherd of life.
Thank you. So, I am one of those who has had their musical gifts empowered by the church, and I have slipped by in creativity to the glory of God often enough. But sometimes I get a little bit more involved in congregational worship, and had the remarkable experience of being part of making the new Mennonite hymnal for Mennonite Church Canada and Mennonite Church USA. It's called Voices Together, and it was a remarkable experience and an absolute joy and stressful time. So it turns out making a hymnal is harder than I thought, than anybody on the committee thought. But it did, to bring it back here, I mean, curation is a remarkable process, right? You have so many opportunities, like thinking of Ray, like there are lots of options, but there's always these interesting paths to whether they come to fruition and come to be shared. And So here's a neat one. Actually, Steve Bell kind of made this popular too. I'm going to invite you to sing along. You need to keep your masks on. But please do sing along. If you don't know it, you'll learn. It's text and music by Brian McLaren. But because I've sort of shifted around in the folk rock realm of things, that was more my portfolio on this committee. And so I was able to bring some things that are a little bit interesting like this into the project that I think really will be lovely for the worship of the church. So good, it goes like this. So join anyone when you're able. Here we go. Christ has no body here but ours, no hands, no feet here on earth but ours. Ours are the eyes through which he looks on this world with kindness. So we have another verse, same melody. Here we go. Ours are the hands through which he works. Ours are the feet on which he moves. Ours are the voices through which he speaks to this world with kindness. Chorus. Through our touch, our smile, our listening, embodied in us, Jesus is living here. So let us go now with the Spirit into this world with kindness. So we go back to the beginning. Sorry, Selena. Christ has no body. Christ has no body. Are the voices through which he speaks. Whoops. World with kindness, my bad. Ours are the hands through which he works. Ours are the feet on which he moves. Ours are the voices through which he speaks to this world with kindness. Through our touch, our smile, our listening ear, embodied in us, Jesus is living here. Let us go now, filled with the Spirit, into this world with kindness. Congratulations, Ray. Lovely. Congratulations.
Hola, Ray. It has been a pleasure working with you in the past to show my work and the work of other Cuban artists at the Mennonite Heritage Center Gallery in Winnipeg. It was also a great experience to spend some time with you in Havana some years ago. Congratulations on your retirement. My best wishes for you in this new chapter of your life.
Namaste, I am Manju Lodha. Ray, it has been a pleasure to work with you. I value our friendship and I learned a lot from you, especially how to collaborate. Thank you, and I wish you all the best in your retirement.
your support for our work over the years.
And congratulations for all your hard work and the successes you've achieved. All the best from us.
Hello, everybody. You know, today I just want to give my opinion for the retirement of Ray Dirks. And I first met Ray in 1990 in Addis Ababa. He was looking for artists to participate in his project, Rise with the Sun project. And I was lucky, really lucky enough to be chosen to go to Canada to participate in his project. That was the beginning of a long time and close collaboration with him. Over the years, Ray and his family also become close friends. Ray is one of the most dedicated people I know, committed to promoting art, writing, and introducing African artists around Canada. I admire his persistence and close cooperation with many African artists. He and his wife, Katie, also helped my daughters settle when they first came to live in Canada. Ray, I send you every good wishes for you, for your retirement, and I consider it as a beginning of your new chapter. Keep in touch, my dear friend. Thank you very much. Looking forward to see you sometimes, as usual. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hi Ray, I want to thank you for your central role in creating and overseeing the MHCG. It's an important, unique, and inclusive space that has celebrated the work of scores of local and international artists. Congratulations on a job very well done. Get back in the studio, my friend. Daj Bože.
Good evening, everybody. My name is David. I'm here to represent the Yoruba Cultural Group. We had an opportunity to perform in this gallery, and the first time I met Ray, I found he's a man that loves to inspire an artist, and therefore I'm dedicating this song to Ray, which means its song is about a child that grew up. And one day his father saw him and said, wow, I don't know you've grown up so fast like this. This is almost 30 years old. Now I can look back. My child is now a man. And that's why the song is called Omo Eipe Dagba. Let's start. And I won't mind if Ray can come forward and get his own horse tail.
very much. Thank you.
We have a second video slide tribute, the first one put together by Shagun Alude. You saw a few moments ago greetings from various artists. And this one is a photo tribute that Raymond Paget has created with lots of photos that I think you will love of Ray over the years, of exhibitions here, some of Ray's own work and travels, but here's a little taste of Ray over the last few years.
I've been happy lately, thinking about the good things to come, and I believe it could be something good has begun. Well, I've been smiling lately, dreaming about the world as one, and I believe it could be someday it's going to come. Someday it's going to come. Take me home again. Come on, please train. Someday it's going to come. Come on, please train. Take me home again. Peace train sounding louder. Light on the peace train. Come on, peace train. Isekaya. Isekaya. Is out on the edge of darkness, there rides the peace train. The peace train, take this country, come take me home again. I've been smiling lately, dreaming about the world as one, and I believe it could be someday it's going to come. Someday it's going to come. Come take me home again. Come on, be straight. Someday it's going to come. Come on, be straight. Come take me home again. Someday it's going to come. Someday it's going to come. Someday, someday, someday it's going to come. Now, I've been crying lately, thinking about the world as it is. Why must we go on hating? Why can't we live in bliss? Isekaya, 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 Isekaya. Peace train sounding louder, light on the peace train. Come on, peace train. Someday it's going to come. Come take me home again. Come on, peace train. Someday it's going to come. Come on, peace train. Take me home again. Come take me home again. Come take me home again. Come take me home. Come take me home. Come take me home again. Someday it's going to come. Come take me home again. Come take me home. Come take me home. Come on, be straight. Thank you, and peace be with all of you.
I'd like to ask Ray Dirks to come up and say a few words, and if he doesn't cry after all of that, I don't know what he's made of. But ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ray Dirks.
Well, I must say I did a little bit when I saw Jairo. I haven't seen him in years. Tepebe, who I have a long history with. Isam, who I didn't know you were going to be here, so you're going to hear some nice things said about yourself that my family has heard many times, but maybe you haven't. Probably haven't. And I'm sure Isam noticed too, his cousin, Ahmed, who passed away, 2 or 3 years ago? Just like I will say in my little talk, that Isam is one of the best people I've ever met. And I would say Ahmed is right up there with him. And I just pray and trust that he is in heaven and happy. He went far too young. One of the best artists and nicest people I've ever met. Someone who my friends, my good friends, seem to all be somewhere else. And I think Katie and I have agreed a number of times that given the chance, he could easily have been my best friend. So, 1, the gallery is up and running. 2, I got up and ran for the hills. Those 2 thoughts jogged through my head when I first read the theme of this year's fundraiser. I read further, we have great plans for the future. Prior to retiring on July 31st, I put programming in place through to next fall. Beyond that, I know next to nothing of the great plans for the future. That is good. I believe everyone who cherishes this place should feel good that in my running for the hills, the keys left behind were picked up by others, and they have set out to keep this place alive, growing, thriving. My sincere prayer is that they will make this place something more and better than what I have left. There are too many people to thank, from artists to people who have encouraged me, to donors who have given faithfully and generously year after year, to the Gallery Advisory Committee members, to volunteers who have selflessly given of their time and talents, to co-workers. One of the originals is here, Connie, and Ken, I believe, was going to be here, but he lives in Pinawa, and today is not a driving day. I am left with countless treasured memories. I would mention a few. Forgive me, those of you who have heard some of these stories already. I think I tend to be repetitive with some of these, because I'm always thinking, I'm not sure if this person has heard it or not, so I say it again. And maybe they've said, yeah, I've never heard it before, and another one will say, I've heard that 5 times. So forgive me. Memories. Ken Reddick and I brainstorming in early 1998. Both of us relatively clueless, but both invested in the idea to turn this space into a full-time gallery. Deciding to take the plunge with $35,000 committed for each of 3 years. How in the world was that supposed to become whatever would be needed to actually keep this place afloat? I had no idea. I started working absolutely from scratch. Next step, buy a computer and a desk. Find artists. I heard of a farmer painting a mural at twilight on one of the buildings on his yard while there was still light for him to see, but not so much that his fellow Mennonite neighbors might see him wasting his time being an artist as they drove past. I heard of a troubled young man gutting old TVs in a Main Street business basement. He filled the new void with his own dioramas. Someone who I'd never met previously came looking for me. She had heard I'd led painting classes at the Provincial Museum using watercolors for portraiture. She was not looking to exhibit. She wanted advice. She showed me 2 portraits, one of herself, the other of a young woman, both in the throes of cancer's curse. While neither painting was great technically, they were gripped by emotion, raw, vulnerable, frightened souls seeking solace. She asked for technical advice. I asked, can you paint 20 or 30 of these? Overwhelmed, and she told me later she almost fainted, by the request, she said she had to think about it. In December 2008, we hosted the 3rd exhibition of Betty Smith's portraits of people with breast cancer. She had painted more than 100. A highly accomplished painter and academic who had been the director of the University of Manitoba School of Art for 19 years came to me early on. I didn't know who he was. I probably should have. He invited me to his home. Born in 1921, he had grown up in the US. There was a faith story somewhere back there, decades and a country away. As we talked, I came to believe that the founding of this institution, based in a Christian church, gave him a destination to be curious about, and in me, someone to approach on his search for rediscovery of something of his faith past. He was open and vulnerable. I was touched. Years later, while he was in palliative care, a chaplain who knew me said he had spoken fondly of our chats. They had been important to him. More or less the same happened with another artist who had been one of Manitoba's best-known painters at I'd say in the 80s or 90s maybe. She too had long ago left whatever faith community she had grown up in. One day in her latter years, she wandered into my office and just sat down beside me. She would come and visit me. I went to her home. We would talk about art and about faith. Both the artists I just mentioned were way beyond me artistically. I was nobody, but I was somebody in an art setting to whom they could talk about their vulnerabilities, their search for there must be more in their latter days. In 2004, some 5 years after we had met in East Africa, in Payapa, I believe is where we met, Issam Aboud phoned me. And I know some of you have heard this story before, so it's one of these forgive me moments. I told him, Issam, this is the best phone connection I've ever had from Africa. And I could have had him up here standing beside me now, repeating what he said. He said, I'm in Winnipeg. Issam and his wife Heba had arrived as refugees from Sudan. I asked, do you have paintings with you? He did. I immediately offered him an exhibit. And here we come to the part where I don't know if Issam's ever heard me say this. I consider Issam to be, as my family well understands, because I tend to repeat often after I get off the phone with him, he's such a nice guy. I consider Issam to be one of the best human beings I know. This place has offered him opportunities to express himself as the artist he is, which includes his Muslim faith. He's been involved in a number of projects with me and Manju Lota. The three of us worked with many school groups, especially English as additional language students, Issam grew from those opportunities to continue working with EAL students on his own in Winnipeg 1. And just as an aside, I wasn't intending to say this, but since Issam's here, he'll remember this one time, he and Manju and I, we were going to Wascada, which is out, if you want to, it's way in southwest Manitoba. Nobody goes there unless they have to, because there's really there's nothing out there. And we were in blizzard conditions, and we were somewhere halfway between Brandon and Boissevain to start with. And both he and Manju were, and I don't think he'd ever been driving out in the country in a blizzard before. And they were both a little, and I was sort of trying to be nonchalant, but I figured I'm too far away from Brandon and I'm not too far from, I may as well just keep going. And anyway, eventually we got past, we were past Boissevain, we were heading for Wascada, and we just stopped out in the middle of nowhere. And Issam went and stood out in the middle of the highway in the blizzard, and I took pictures of him. And I thought, well, this might be the first person from the Sahara Desert who's done that. In 2006, Manju and Ganpat Lota stopped by and asked if we would consider featuring the art of a Hindu artist. Absolutely, I replied. That meeting blossomed into several exhibits, including in India, and it led to projects, books, DVDs, and still to come in early 2022, a large book project on faith diversity in Manitoba. I recall with deep gratitude and fondness traveling to 17 countries around the world to meet and stay with Mennonite and other Anabaptist families while bringing together the In God's Image, a Global Anabaptist Family book and exhibition. As a bookend to that project about Mennonites from many countries, cultures, and ethnicities, I am equally thankful for the numerous meetings I had with individuals and families as I brought together the Along the Road to Freedom Mennonite Women of Courage and Faith book and exhibition. I trust that the two books together are a good introduction to ordinary lives representing an expanding, evolving Mennonite community, from the Russian Empire period to now around the world. And now one more little aside, John Wheeler is an important person to me in both of those projects. Thank you, John, and an important friend. There are many, many more rich and cherished memories. The point, if any beyond an opportunity to express my own sentimentality, is that this place has a unique history. It has been an art gallery for 23 years in this present format, but not a normal art gallery. It has been an art gallery bathed in stories and relationships, awash in following gut instincts that would lead to exhibits ranging from across the tremendous diversity of cultures and faiths that now exist in Manitoba. Maybe some of those gut instincts were providential. I don't know, but I hope so. I am not good at art speak. I believe I'm better at heart speak. This place has been about art, and it has been about the heart, sometimes mostly about the heart, about people and their stories. This place has existed to give artists opportunities to display art, to open their souls, to explore their and their community's issues, to be an equal person, to be an artist of faith, if that is what they are and what they wish to express. Now a new chapter is beginning, a new chapter written by a solid group of people, the gallery's advisory committee, along with Selena. The gallery is in good and experienced hands. New stories will unfold, new artists will find a home, possibly even a refuge. The place will evolve as it should. For those new stories to take place, donations continue to be at the core of the gallery's existence. That is one thing that is not changing. I hope you're supporting the gallery is another element that does not change. I am no longer an employee. Since August 1st, I've been a full-time volunteer. The Leap in Faith book project still needs to be completed. We have an early January date for sending the files to Friesens for printing. I just reconfirmed that today. I am excited and exhausted. This book, being created on the tiniest of shoestrings, is going to be unlike anything that has ever been produced in Canada, that we've been told. The variety and number of folks participating are amazing. And there's a few here. Isam is in the book, Ray is in the book. Not this, well, I mean, I'm in the book somewhere, but Coco there is also in the book. Anthony and Teresita are in the book. Selena is in the book. So it's a wide variety of people. In photos and words, you will come to know our province as you've never known it before. I hope you buy a copy or 3 when it comes out. I also would appreciate some donations, if I'm allowed to say this, being made to cover the printing costs. They are mostly covered by the Winnipeg Foundation, but not completely. But having said that, please do not give to Leap in Faith instead of giving to the gallery. Only if you want to give what you're giving to the gallery and then something a little extra, I would appreciate it. But then you have to designate it to the Leap in Faith project. And I would very much and humbly appreciate it. On Wednesday evening, out of curiosity, and for the first time in the many years we've been working on the Leap in Faith project, which will include stories that are from 8 or 9 years ago right up until yesterday. So it's sort of covering a wide swath of time. So I've been working on this project for many years, and for the first time, just because all of a sudden I was curious on Wednesday, I checked how many files I have on my laptop related to the project. The files are a combination of photos, Word documents, InDesign, PowerPoint, and PDF files, etc. I keep the files in two main folders on my laptop. One includes primarily what we most likely need for the final design files that will go to Friesens. The other includes everything I've ever sent, received, photographed, created, etc. There are a total of 21,292 files. Rather a large number. Mind you, it does include duplicates in both folders, so there's probably no more than maybe 15 or 16,000. Nevertheless, the number confirms what a substantial, complex, and long-running project Leap in Faith is and has been, and probably confirms some other things if you talk to Katie. To finish, I would like to return to memories, to a story among those of individuals I've met and become friends with through the gallery. In 2008, Murray Barkman, then the director of Mennonite Central Committee's Open Circle program, asked me about holding a one-afternoon event featuring some inmate and ex-offender art and performers. That led to my asking Murray if we could put together a full-scale exhibition for the future. It was agreed we would, and then some months later, one day Murray brought me several paintings by Ovid Charlotte. At the time, Ovid was at Milner Ridge. I'd been allowed to go into Stony and video interview inmates at Stony Mountain, but Ovid wasn't there then, so I never met him. Murray, not being an artist, nonchalantly showed me the paintings. I looked and stepped back. Murray, these are extraordinary. I seem to recall Murray responding, really? Ovid is not only a meticulous master of his style of painting, he is equally masterful at opening his soul, pouring out his turmoil, thoughts, and dreams, all embraced by a deep knowledge of Indigenous traditions. After the exhibit had passed, I was curating a touring exhibit on food justice issues titled Just Food for MCC and Canadian Food Grains Bank. I suggested Ovid should be one of the commissioned artists. After Just Food, I asked Ovid to be in a couple more exhibits and suggested he be invited to exhibit in the Reconciliation exhibit brought together here in 2018 by Marlene Gallagher, originally from Sagkang, and Clarissa Kelly from Peguis. At some point after the Open Circle exhibit, Ovid was moved to Stony Mountain. Prompted by the planning for the Reconciliation exhibit, I decided I wanted to try to get to know him. I began trying to arrange to see him. I was getting nowhere. I'd phone somebody and be passed to somebody else, eventually coming to a dead end. Finally, while meeting one day with Clarissa Kelly in her office about the Reconciliation exhibit, I mentioned to her that I wished to meet Ovid, and she said she knew a teacher at Stony. Suddenly, I had a contact who cared about what art can do as a healer. I was taken seriously, and soon I was at Stony and being walked back into the cells to meet Ovid in his cell block. I stood there waiting for him, not knowing what or who to expect. I'd never even seen a photo of him. Younger inmates walked by. One guy asked if, I'm sure people have noticed what I've got going on under my one eye. So one young guy asked if I'd been in a fight, pointing at the mark under my eye, and I said, no, I've had it for many years. He was kind of disappointed and he wandered off. He was ready to be impressed. Finally, a man in his early 60s with tousled, messed hair shuffled towards us. His eyes were down. I reached out to shake his hand. He continued to look down. I said, I'm honored to meet you. You are an incredibly talented man. He looked up at me, and every time we have seen each other since, we look each other in the eye. We talked about his art, about his horrific residential school years and early home life. Both were awful. We talked about his discovering he could paint and how that also led to his discovering his people's traditions. He doubts he will ever be healed of all his demons, but his art and return to tradition, to ceremony, gives him peace. I asked Ovid to be part of another group exhibit that took place a few months before the gallery closed due to the pandemic. It was arranged that he could come to see the gallery beforehand, along with a guard and his parole officer. And he met with me and some of the gallery's advisory committee. We'd also then asked if he could be able to attend, we had asked if he could be able to attend the opening in the fall. He was escorted to the opening and spent the evening meeting people and talking about his art. Shortly before retiring on July 31st this year, I asked Karen, the Stony Mountain teacher, if she could talk to Ovid and ask for permission to include one of his paintings in the Leap in Faith Project book. She agreed to ask. A few days later, Karen called to say Ovid gave his permission. Then she added, by the way, he also said the day of the opening was the best day of his life. A troubled soul, someone who has done inexplicably awful things, someone in prison almost all of his adult life, someone loved by God, richly blessed with talent, a man, a person, someone whose life has been touched through the work of this unique institution, an institution doing extraordinary work for a fraction of the amount needed to fund any other comparably sized gallery that I know of. Karen's call prompted me to think, this is the best day of my year and one of the best at the gallery. I sent up a silent prayer for Ovid and for those he had harmed in the past, and of thanks. And thanks to all of you.
I'm going to ask Mary Petkow to come up, and she has a few words to say to Ray, and I think a presentation. And then after that, Cheryl Pauls, the president of Canadian Mennonite University, will come up. Mary has been a long supporter of the gallery and a former member of our advisory committee. Mary.
Thank you. Can I see Ray? I need to see you. Yeah, you want to? Perfect. Yeah, I do. Yeah. Yeah. It's nice having you here. On behalf of the advisory committee, I'm so honored to be here tonight and to do this presentation for you. Ted and I first met you and Katie some 40 years back at a meetup convention. Yes. We were sitting at the same table, and when someone introduced me to you, I was in awe. A real live artist was sitting beside me, and Katie, with her gregarious nature, put me at ease pretty soon. So some 40 years later now, I'm still in awe of you. What you have created here is from God. You had this vision of a faith-based art gallery where all artists would feel welcome, accepted and loved. And you made time for anyone who came through the door, everyone, and you always listened and engaged with people. You spent thousands of hours doing that. My voice is shaking. So for all that, I'm thankful. He also made a huge impact in the city and in the world, many countries around the world. So with that, I'm thankful I was able to work on the advisory committee for a while, and I will do the presentation after Shirley says her piece.
Okay, so I could have stayed over there.
I had no one to. I don't look at you to say this.
I should sit down now.
You can sit right there, Ray. We're going to be. Thanks. Well, thanks to Ray this evening for your storytelling. And I think the gift of tribute today has three parts to it. One is, it's usual that people will say, if you're an artist, you're not really a curator. And if you're a curator, you're not. And a curator is different than an administrator. A curator who puts the whole project together, and let alone the administrator who makes that work. And if you're an artist, you're not really a curator, you're not really an administrator, and you're not really a social change agent. And if you're a social change agent, you're not really a spiritual leader. But Ray is all five of these things, and all five at the same time, and the quality of one doesn't suffer because he's also true in the other. And I think it's because it's all based in friendship. It's all based in telling the story through all of them. And so, Ray, your paintings themselves always tell the story of the dignity of a person's face, a dignity of someone you've been curious about, who you've gotten to know, who you have found the inner spring, and you bring that to life in that painting. And then you bring that story to life by creating the space for other people's paintings and then for telling their stories. And the third thing that I wanted to emphasize is that by working at something that was impoverished, Ray brought a whole new language to something that's just so way ahead of the curve. And what I mean by that is impoverished in terms of a church, and particularly in an Anabaptist imagination for where the visual arts, where the fine arts fit in. And in creating space for that, not only created that within that faith tradition and took it out of that impoverished place, but rather through that created the language for interfaith relationship and really, I would say, has been a model for what those things have been in ways that we academics probably don't have nearly, certainly the relationships, and I would say even the examples of what that can look like and how it can transform a society. So thank you, Ray, for these things. You have been a tremendous gift. You are cherished, and the model of what you have inspired, and I would say equipped others of with, is something that I'm thrilled that the advisory committee is taking forward, and just want to thank you for the honor of these gifts. And so with these then, Mary and I will invite you up, and Mary will talk about the first part, and I'll just keep that part. So
this is from Pottery, Terry Hildebrand.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
You know, the pottery is, I don't know what's in it. I can guess some of it, but, you know, it's beautiful.
Did you want me to open it?
Do you want to open it? I don't know if you're supposed to. Want to? There's time. Why not?
you probably could, but I'll tell you about this one too, and then you can be opening them. In this one is something about a place for you to go choose a tree and to plant the tree. So.
Okay, that's...
You don't have to open that in front of us. You can believe that I'm telling the truth, but I'm sure someone would love to see the pottery. Thanks so much, Ray. We honor you, and thanks for the gift of what your work is.
Thank you.
My name is Lori Matties. Well, I'll just read it so that every year, toward the end of August, I begin to notice how the sun sparkles slantwise on the waters of lakes and rivers. And then I know that summer is fading and the long dark of winter is coming. What I need to remember then is that every seed that the wild plants make, every wind that blows them into the distance, carries the promise of 1,000 summers to come. And then we have a day like today, when the wind's overnight bluster brought us into sudden winter, and we can feel a dozen emotions about that. We here on the prairies have wintered many storms, and some of us feel exhilaration in the crisp cold, in the good work of shoveling neighbors out of the snow, and we did that twice for our daughter this morning. Winter reminds us of our resilience, whether we embrace it or hide away like bears in hibernation. I have volunteered here at the gallery for 11 or 12 years. And if you had told me 11 or 12 years ago that I would be standing up here enjoying asking for money, I would have quite laughed at you. But it's true. I am standing here enjoying talking to you as friends. In those 11 or 12 years, I have heard so many stories of people near and far, and yes, Ray, I've heard some of them quite a few times, and I have quite often heard that Isam is such a nice guy. And I've met him a few times, and he is such a nice guy. Unlikely friendships have been made here. Hurts have been healed through the artwork and through Ray's openness to listen and encourage artistic gifts across religions, politics, and cultures. That is a legacy that we hope to carry on here. Art can speak where words fail. In my experience, this is the little gallery that could. Sometimes with strings and wires if necessary, we have made and shared beauty, poignancy, prophecy. And like the seasons, we're in transition here, and Ray is and will be missed deeply for a long time. But we will try to plant the seeds that he has sown, and maybe a few wild seeds of our own. We will continue to make a safe and growing space here for artists. Thank you for coming here tonight, whether online or in person. Thank you for valuing the art and the connections it makes. With your help, we can look forward to keeping this gallery up and running for a long time to come. And for that, I thank you. And in closing, we have a treat. We have a drummer from this part of the world, Ray Stevens, Coco Stevens, is well known as a traditional drummer, but he's also collaborated with pop and rock groups, and he loves teaching children about powwow dancing. We are honored to have you with us, Ray, Coco. Thank you for playing with us, for closing our evening.
Thank you. Let me first of all start off by introducing the spirit name that I was given over 34 years ago, and that's Pimose Maingan, which means walking wolf in the Ojibwe language. My English name is Ray Stevenson, but that's okay. All right, Ray Stevenson. And my nickname is Coco, that everybody kind of knows me as, but you know, I didn't know you retired. I really didn't know up until tonight, seriously. And you know, it's funny that you did this year because so did I. I was with the Winnipeg School Division #1 for 25 years in a program called LAC. If you're familiar with education in Winnipeg 1, it was a tough job, but you know, this is who I am and this is what I do. I'd like to be able to sing a song for you. This song is called Till We Meet Again, because one chapter in your life is done. It doesn't mean that we won't see each other again. There's no way for us to say goodbye. It's always until we meet again. You know, so regardless of whatever obstacles come in our way, you know, and that's what it is, obstacles. You believe in that higher power, you have that faith, it helps you overcome that obstacle to be able to continue to move forward. And with the gallery, you put it in a good place. And I'm very honored and blessed to be able to just be here today. And I've been here before, and you know, anytime I'm asked to come and do anything, it's always a blessing. So again, I'd like to honor you with a song I titled Till We Meet Again, because you know, this is not the end. We will see you somewhere down the road in your new adventures of relaxing, hopefully, and enjoying life. Thank you, and have a good evening.
Thank you, Ray. It was a great honor to have you here. Before we wind up, a few acknowledgements. I don't quite know where to start. Maybe I'll start with Daryl Newstetter-Barg, who came in at the last moment when our music didn't happen because of Alexa Dirks being ill. Daryl is doing our live stream and sang for us and played for us, and I'm really appreciative. Selena Wolf, right here, has been doing all sorts of things. If you don't know Selena, you should get to know her. She's our only employee right now, very part-time, but doing more than part-time work. And of course can help you with all things to do with donations, but great gratitude to Selena, who's been going above and beyond lately. I want to thank two special friends of Ray's, Issam Aboud and Manju Loda, who've been partners in many of his educational projects over the years. Manju was not able to be here tonight, but she did send her greetings. And I'm so glad that Issam was here and could offer a prayer. A quick thank you to the members of the committee that I'm on, Daniel Fontaine-Kozlowski, Raymond Paget, Shogun Alunde, Seth Woodyard, Lori Matties, and in the past, Mary Petkow, Rachel Berg, Adelia Neufeld-Weens. Big thanks to Ray's wife, Katie Dirks, who has always been important, and to Connie Wiebe, who has worked hard here in the past. Thank you to everyone at Canadian Mennonite University, Cheryl Pauls, representing CMU here tonight. I want to say that the pottery that we're giving Ray was created by Terry Hildebrand, so I wanted to acknowledge that. And I also wanted to say that the artists of tonight's show, which this show comes down tomorrow, so it's the last day tomorrow to see this show by Karen Cornelius and Patricia Eschuk. I believe they're both here tonight, and maybe you could indicate where you are. So there's Karen and there's Patricia right here, and they would love to talk to you and tell you about their paintings, so do seek them out and stick around for a while and look at the art, and you can talk to the artists. A little bit more than 1 week from tonight, next Friday, November 19th, 7 p.m. is the opening of our next show, Breaking the Silence on Domestic Violence, a group show curated by Isabel Cheer and Deborah Zita Somakoko. That will be on until January 15th, so you'll have lots of opportunity to see it. But if you can't get enough of art openings, and I can't because it was too long without them, that's next Friday night at 7. And you can sign up, and you can easily find that sign-up sheet on the website. And or just call Selena, and she will sign you up so that you can come. Most of all, a thanks to you, the donors and supporters of this gallery, wherever you are, and more than anything, a thank you to Ray Dirks. Let's give Ray another big round of applause. So I've been practicing how to say thank you in a bunch of different languages, which is very appropriate for this place. I'm part Danish, so I got that in here somewhere. But here we go. Marci, ekosi, hi hi, miigwech, gracias, merci beaucoup, vielen dank, dhanyavad, shukran, tusen tak, thank you. So we are done talking to you. Please enjoy each other's company, have a visit, stay for a while and look at the art. We know it was not easy coming here this evening with the blizzardy conditions, and we are very grateful. We have a little culinary treat which is going to be handed to you, I believe. Yep, so we will present that to you so that you can take that with you or eat it here. But blessings to you and good night.